Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, as always, accompanied by my co-host Glenn Martin. Really excited about this episode. We are going to talk about the Ravens' history in the NFL draft. We're going to give our top 5 draft picks in Ravens history and kind of discuss if we have any differences, debate about them. So go ahead and give this video a like and make sure to subscribe so we can keep giving you more of that content. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I'm sure we'll agree on all these, Glenn, but why don't you reveal to us your number one Ravens first-round draft pick of all time.
Number one, all time. We're starting number one, or do you want to start?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's start at number 5. Better idea.
All right, let's start at number 5. So my number 5 is none other than Joe Flacco. And it's got to be because of what he meant to this organization. He brought me maybe my happiest and most memorable day of my life was when the Ravens won their Super Bowl, because everyone I loved and was dear to me was at my house watching the game, and it was just awesome. My unborn son was in my wife's belly at the time, so everyone was there, and it was just an awesome experience. And I loved every second of that run. And it's Joe. I mean, you got to put Joe in your top 5 list. I think so.
Fair enough. I like it. Like the memory. I wasn't there though, so I don't know if everyone. That's
true. You were far away at that point, right?
Yeah, I was.
Where were you at that?
I was in Utah.
Okay, yeah. So, but if you were around, you'd have probably been around. Okay,
that really sealed the deal as your number one memory. That would have really done it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you were in Maryland, you'd have probably been over. So that's all.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you what, my number 5 is actually different than yours.
Okay.
My number 5 is Terrell Suggs.
Oh, sizzle. Tell us why.
He is absolutely in the top 5. This was difficult for me, whether he was 4 or 5. I think our top 3 are the same. But, I mean, just his career stats are incredible. What he brought to the Ravens as far as toughness. Not only that, he brought a real character to the team. I loved his identity that I think he brought to the team going on the road and relishing those big road games. Of course, him and Ben going back and forth, that was a lot of fun to watch. Just an incredible player, period. I mean, on and off the field, always a great soundbite. But I think that to this day, his football intelligence is underestimated because his athleticism is so elite.
Yeah.
That people forget how smart of a football player Terrell Suggs is. So easily top 5. I was just debating whether or not 4 or 5. But to me, I didn't put him above Joe because of the positions that they play.
Fair enough. I have Suggs at number 4 for me. 17 years as a Raven. The guy, was, like you said, I mean, he was an incredible player, but also just someone that you love as a fan to have on your team, because, like you mentioned, he relished those games against bitter rivals. He loved going into the opposing team stadium and taunting the crowd, and just loved coming out at our stadium and had that mask on, and he'd get the crowd going crazy. And a great leader in the locker room, taught the young guys what it was to be a Raven. So I got a lot of appreciation for T-Sizzle. I think he's going to end up being a first ballot Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. So I got to agree with you. So who do you got at number 3?
My number 4 is, of course, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And so, I guess because he brought us our chip.
Yeah, for sure. And not only, it's not like we drug him along. I mean, if anything, that defense was not great.
Yeah.
And Joe was a serious problem in that Super Bowl run. I mean, his intermediate game in that run up the seam with him and Anquan and Dennis was just ridiculous. I mean, guy was throwing darts. So that alone does, that catapults him up to my top 5, and then, of course, my number 4. So my number 3 is Ed Reed, number 3.
Reed.
The ball hawk. 3. Yeah, and so that one for me, he's my number 3 because I think that it's easy to say that he is – I think it's safe to say, not necessarily easy, but safe to say that he's the best safety of all time. Obviously, there's some other people that are in that conversation, and a lot of it has to do with the style of safety because there's really 2 different types of safeties out there. But I think if a team was starting and any GM could take any safety in the history of the NFL, they would take Ed first. Just incredible instincts, incredible study habits, incredible athlete. So absolutely embodied everything about the Ravens. My number 3 for sure.
And, well, my number 3 is a little bit different. I'm going to go with J.O., Big J.O., number 1, the first Raven of all time. And in my opinion, going to be the best left tackle of all time. I know there's lots of debate there, but if he didn't have that nagging toe injury that ended up cutting his career a little bit short, I think he had a few more seasons and he would have further solidified the fact that he's the greatest to ever do it on that left side. Um, he's just an incredible player. I mean, a mountain of a man. If you listen to his opponents that took him on, they just said, there's nothing you can do. And you're going into that game, you're just not going to be a factor. I mean, and that's just the ultimate compliment to be paid by your opposing player. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's an incredible player. But to me, he's number 3. And my number 2 is Mr. Ed Reed. You mentioned a lot of good stuff. I think that there is 2 camps. There's the camp that looks at, the strong safety, the heavy hitter, which a lot of people forget, because the end of Ed's career, he had the shoulder issues and he wasn't laying the wood like he used to. But when he came in the league, he was doing both. He wasn't just that ball hawking free safety everybody remembers. He was also laying the wood on some guys, putting some big hits down. And then also his playmaking ability, not just on defense, but on special teams. The guy is maybe the best punt blocker and field goal blocker in history as well. Certainly punt blocker, he's got to be up there. Good punt returner as well, and the best interception return man in the history of the league, bar none. And that's better than Dion. Yeah, I'm saying it's better than Dion because every time he touched the ball, he was looking to score, and everyone in the building knew that. So, yeah, I mean, Ed Reed is just he's one of a kind, and the only reason I just wish he would have stayed and ended his career. I get why he left. He went and got a couple extra bucks, but it would have been nice to see him only wear the color purple like J.O.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Ed Reed definitely he wins the award for making Bill Belichick blush the most. I've never seen anyone. I mean, I've never seen Bill Belichick talk about anyone like he talks about Ed Reed.
He was giddy talking about him.
Oh my gosh! And he mentioned that top 100, that inside move that Ed would put on people on the punt blocking. Just incredible. But I'll tell you what, our as before with our 4 and 5, our 3 and 2 swapped. Jo is my number 2. A couple of reasons. One, and you mentioned this about Ed. Jo was a lifer. Definitely, when you're speaking out the Ravens, big deal. As important as free safety or safety is, I don't know. I just feel like overall the left tackle position is a touch more important. As much of a game changer Ed was, so was Jo. I mean, in his own right, in a different way, he wasn't causing turnovers. But like you said, he would literally take a guy, any pass rusher, out of the game. Just you're not even going to make an impact, like you said. So Jo to me is my number 2 as a Raven. Like you said, the history behind it as well. I'll tell you what, cool story. First time I went to training camp was with you and Mr. Pierney.
That's right.
And I remember standing there, and I'm talking to Mr. Pierney, and I'm like, "Hey, look, is that Ray Lewis right there?" And because I saw this big guy, the way that I thought Ray Lewis was in my mind was like this demigod, right? Yeah. And I just saw this huge guy. I figured it was Ray Lewis. Like, no, that's Jonathan Ogden. The guy next to him is Ray Lewis. And I was like, oh, geez.
Why is he so much bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my number 2 for sure. Give us your number 1. Hold on. Your number 1 is
Ray Lewis, of course, Mr. Raven, the Raven of all Ravens. I mean, if Ray Lewis isn't at the top of your look, I don't care if you like Ed's game better, if you like Jo, if you love being in the trench. No matter, you can't have anyone above Ray Lewis. You just can't do it. I mean, this guy is the Ravens, and there's no guy that's more into promoting the Ravens. That's, I mean, he was our team leader, and so was Ed in his own way, but certainly the upfront leader, the guy that was leading the charges, he was doing the motivational speaking before every game. He was out there with the mic in front of his face before and after every game, which we know he loved the microphone. But the guy, I mean, he's Mr. There's nothing he didn't accomplish as a Raven. He got every record, he got every award, every accolade. And honestly, I think that his play aside, that last Super Bowl run was largely credited to him giving everyone that speech that this was his last ride. And I think that, emotions play a role in sports. And I certainly think that his leadership was pivotal in that run to get us our second Super Bowl. And I don't think we could have done it without him.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, my number one as well is the Ray Lewis. I'll tell you what, I agree with everything you said. The one thing I'll add is just that, and people that are outside the Ravens, or even some fans, they kind of criticize him for really liking the microphone, or whatever, being a talker and things like that. I know that, like, stylistically it didn't jive with everyone. I know Joe would kind of give him a hard time, or just kind of goof off with him because he would talk so much. But the thing that everyone has to respect about Ray is that as much as he liked that, he backed up everything. He liked the grind and the two-a-days and the hard work and the film study just as much as that stuff. And that's a real leader, not somebody who just talks it, but you already know who put it. Ray already put in all the work. He didn't come into camp out of shape. He didn't come into camp not knowing the defensive scheme, any of that. I mean, he was the quarterback of that defense for almost 2 centuries.
Two decades?
Or sorry, not 2 centuries. Then he would have been a demigod.
Yeah, vampire?
2 decades. That's right. So that's just incredible to be able to do that from a mental, emotional, and physical standpoint is just awesome. One of my favorite stories about Ray Lewis that a lot of people don't know. He wore the number 52 because there's 52 decks in a card. And when he was younger, he asked his mom for a deck of cards because his mom was in some rough relationships and men would put their hands on her when he was really little, and he couldn't do anything about it. So he'd take a deck of cards and he would flip them over. Whatever the card would be, he would do it that number of push-ups, and then he would start over once he got all through the deck and do that number of sit-ups over and over and over again, because he said, I'm going to be strong enough to keep these guys off my mom.
I'm sure he did that.
Yeah, so that, just to be able to take that pain and to turn it into that career is just incredible, man. Just an incredible Raven for sure.
Yeah, so it looks like we both agree at number 1, and so the only disagreements are 2 and 3 are flip-flopped, and 4 and 5, right? And let me tell you why you're wrong about 2 and 3. And okay, get ready, saddle up, put your seatbelt on. Edward, let me just ask you this: if you had to take, say they were both playing at their peak. Yep. J.O. and Ed Reed at their positions, and you had to take one off the field for a potential backup. So I'll just name like a backup. Like a current backup would be like a Deshaun Elliott we have right now. So you take Ed off and you put Deshaun in, and then you take J.O. off and you put Andre Smith is our backup tackle. Who do you think we're missing? Who do you think is the more felt impact? Taking J.O. off and putting in Andre, or taking Ed off, when you consider the fact that Ed Reed, every time the ball was thrown deep, at least for me, I was excited. Again, when they were throwing against us, because I'm going, oh, Ed's probably going to pick it off and take it back. I just saw the amount of effect he could have on the game from so many different angles with special teams, defense, all that. To me, he just impacted the game more and could change the game more than a J.O. So tell me why J.O. belongs above Ed.
Sure. So I'm gonna rebut that with well, first of all, if you got Joe at quarterback, or a Kyle Bowler or Elvis Gerback, not Lamar, who makes offensive linemen all pro guys. Not that but he makes them look a lot better because he doesn't take sacks. If you got a guy like Joe back there, and you're going from the best left tackle in the league, where it's an automatic shutdown, and you got. I mean, name a top pass rusher. I don't know. I mean, any guy.
Dwight Freeney gave him a hard time at the end of his career.
Yeah, but I mean, any top guy that you can think of now, and you're then going to put Andre Smith out there. You're not biting.
I agree. It's going to be a drop ball.
Every time it's 3rd and 8, every time you know it's a clear passing situation, you're not biting your nails a little nervous.
You could, but there's ways to cover up a left tackle. You could put a Nick Boyle over there to give him a hand. You could put a back on your left side to help chip. If you take Ed out,
yeah, you're losing a lot. You're absolutely losing a lot. But I just feel like left tackle, and especially in his era, left tackles were everything. I mean, it was the quarterback and the left tackle and the middle linebacker. Like that's what it was.
And the pass rusher, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and an edge guy. So I don't know, man. I totally get it. And you're right. You do win on the argument that, like, special teams-wise, Ed, that's another way that he just contributes and he was great at. Yeah. J.O.'s on the sideline during special teams.
That's right.
But every single play, I mean, he was winning his battle every single play. Yeah. When it comes to consistency, we also saw Ed lose a couple times. Yeah,
well, we saw, like as I mentioned, we saw J.O. get a little bested by Dwight Freeney's spin move towards the end of his career. Now, he was dealing with that toe injury, which a lot of people point to, but speed guys would give him a little bit of an issue towards the end of his career. But as all players, they degrade as time goes on. He was still a great player.
Right.
And we are arguing about 2 and 3 all-time Raven first-round picks.
And hold on here. As far as 4 and 5 goes, speaking of taking you to school, pack your lunchbox, okay? Because the same argument can be said if you're talking about impact, right? Yeah. And you got to take Terrell Suggs off the field and put in a backup pass rusher, or you got to take off Joe Flacco. I'm sure you're taking Terrell Suggs off the field.
Certainly during that playoff run, absolutely.
I mean, even after the playoff run, you want Ryan Mallett?
Look, all I'm saying is Terrell Suggs did it for a very – I mean, look, he was Joe was our quarterback for 11 years, but Suggs was here for 17. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I look at the leadership Suggs brought. Let's be honest, Joe wasn't the best leader. He was, I'm going to do my job, lead by example, but that's really where it ends.
Yeah.
Whereas Suggs, I feel like, elevated the play of the guys around him on that defensive line. I don't know how much Joe elevated his I mean, I guess, man, see, it's hard for me to pick somebody. I'm a Suggs guy. I mean, I love Terrell. So I'm a Joe guy too, though. So it's tough. But I had to give the edge to Suggs for his leadership and, you know, his
longevity.
And I don't know. It's tough because you're right. Quarterback. It's quarterback. But, man, I'm going to go Suggs there. I'm going to go Suggs. But I can see your argument. I get it. I understand.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're also going to put out a video here about our 5 worst first-round draft picks. So stay tuned. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back with you guys soon.
See you.